it's about, but it's the branch that has the Surgeon General. And I've worked in the office of two secretaries. I've traveled the world. I've gone to China. I worked for a U.S. senator, and I retired about 5 years ago. And so, what I wanted to do when I got out of the military and I wanted to start a business, I found out that a lot of people didn't know how to connect the dots. And for those where that information was available, it was very expensive. And so I said,
Mhm.
how can I scale this down so that everyday people, and that's sort of my theme, the Sly Stone song, how can everyday people have access to the same information so
Right.
that they can start their businesses, they can get good consultation, and then
Mhm.
they can also learn how to protect their assets. Now, what I'm doing currently, I turned 65 this year, and I have two children that are grown and two grand children, an 8-year-old, he's now 9,
Aw.
granddaughter. And the reason when I retired from the military out of the DC, Virginia area, I
Mhm.
moved to Jacksonville. My daughter was in the military and stationed here in Jacksonville. And
Mhm.
so I came here because my grandson was 2 years old then, and I had to come to spoil my grandson.
Of course.
So, so that's
Of
the thing
course.
that got me into
Yeah.
Jacksonville. Yeah, yeah. So um, working with my business, and then someone said to me, my cousin Gerald Mays, shout out to Gerald and Joanne Mays, said, do you
Mhm.
know anything about trust? And I said, well, just I've kind of heard. And then once I got more into it, because most of us are familiar with how to do a will, and
Right.
we heard about a simple trust, but one of the things we were not doing, everyday people, is that we were not setting up the complex trust like the Rockefellers and Bill and Melinda Gates and
Mhm.
some of the others, the Chase. They have set up complex trust. Do you know that's still generating income hundreds of
Wow.
years later? And
Wow.
so I had that light bulb moment. I'm saying, wait a minute. If Jeff Bezos can do it, you know,
Right.
I do it for my
Right.
grandkids with my little Walmart money. So
Right.
and so an additional aspect was added to my business, and I'll go ahead and let you ask a question, and then I can get more into Be Connected and what we do. But that's how I
Yes.
got started, and that's sort of my background. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, why be connected? Because it's spelled BE, right? Like a bee, be connected. Yeah. So
Those
why
are
that?
bumblebees.
Yeah.
No, for bumblebees. Uh, well, because I grew up in a little girl in the segregated South. I came from integration through
Mhm.
segregation, desegregation, and integration. And I went on to have a successful career. And all along the way, even with what we're seeing now with this racial unrest, I had to face that, 50, 55 years of my career. And I was not supposed to succeed. I grew up in a little town, like I said, in
Mhm.
rural segregated South. And just like the bee, that became my symbol because the bee defies aviation laws, defies gravity, and is not supposed to succeed. So
Mhm.
my logo is a B, BEE, because we as everyday people, I want to be able to share tips through Be Connected, which is connect
Awesome.
people with, the resources to be successful. So
Right.
that's why it's Be Connected. And then my website is Be Connected Life, because that's
I
what
like
you
that.
want.
Right. I love that. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That is very beautiful. I love that. And tell us a little bit more about your background. You're a mom and you're a grandmother.
I'm a mom and a grandmother, and setting up the complex trust is really near and dear to me because I wanted to make sure that my grandkids had, funding if something happens to me,
Of
and
course.
that money would be there so that they could go to college, start a business, get a house. And I know everybody listening, that's what we desire for our
Of course.
kids, you know.
Mhm.
And so, because I tease my daughter and my son who are 30 and 33, I say, and they know I say this now, if
Yeah.
something happens to me, they will not be at the Nissan dealership. They will be at the Bugatti
Yeah,
uh,
right. Of course. The
dealership.
fancy luxury cars.
One check. And
Yeah.
there goes everything. And so the complex trust, like I said, my cousins who introduced it to me,
Yeah.
and I really solves the problem of everybody. And we've scaled it to a point where everybody can afford to do it.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
and that's really important right now is the affordability of everything, especially with the pandemic and COVID and
right,
everything going on. That's extremely, extremely important. So that's beneficial, for
for everyone.
everybody. Yeah.
And during my
And
career, let me just say this, during my career, because people going, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not trying to sell any kind of products or anything. But
yeah.
during my career, between the federal government and the military, I was responsible for over $1.5 billion. That's billion with a B of grants, contracts entered
Wow.
into agreement. So I know a little bit about
A
money
little bit.
and about working with companies,
Yeah.
and so that's all I want to do is just pass this information on, because if you're going to look at your future and make your own self financially sound, I can't teach you everything. I can show you how to fish and how to get
Hmm.
the information, but you can't be spoon fed. You've got to say, I
Exactly.
not
Right.
watch Wheel of Fortune and I need to go read 30 minutes. So that's what we're here to do with, because
Yeah.
that's my favorite show. I guess.
No,
Uh,
exactly. Yep.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
it's for people that are ready to learn and and be able to take maybe a next step in their career or something like that, or maybe they're feeling
mhm,
stuck. I
mhm,
know there's a lot of people out here that are feeling, they're feeling pretty stuck because just of
right,
all the changes in the online, and you're like, oh, here you go, let's just work from home and just know how to use a computer and the internet and everything, right?
right.
So what kind of services, I know in Be Connected, you guys kind of help with that, right? So what services do you guys provide or do you provide?
Well, the B also stands for Business Education and Enterprise Resources.
Nice.
So if I don't know it in my team, we know
Hmm.
somebody who knows it.
Right, exactly. I'll get you connected.
Right. And
Yes.
what I found as I got out here, and I'm sure, Katie, you've come into it, people will say, oh, I have a business, I have a business. And then you find out they haven't even filed the first forms to
Yeah.
have a business. They may
Mhm.
have got an EIN number and they're
Mhm.
out here doing things saying they're a nonprofit and they're getting in trouble because they haven't done all the paperwork. So our company will take you, depending on where you are, from helping you and directing you on how to properly structure yourself. And I'll get
Mhm.
into that with the 4 keys to wealth is put yourself in the correct tax position. That's the
Right.
first key to
Right.
wealth. We we do everything from helping you make sure you have your LLC papers filed correctly with the state, that you have your 501c3 paperwork filed with the IRS, all the way up to having a private trust foundation that's registered with the IRS. So we do the whole spectrum
Oh
of
yeah. Yeah,
uh, yeah.
with your background and all the experience that you have, I mean, you really know like the nitty gritty, you know what I mean? All the paperwork you need to know. So how does your company, how do you really connect people with those services? Like, how are you able to?
Well, the first thing for the complex trust, so let me talk about the 4 keys to wealth. So right now our emphasis on the 4 keys to wealth, which is getting people to protect their assets and structure their family legacy. This COVID, this is why I kind of switched my focus, is because everybody's thinking that we spend so much time with our family and thought about our own destiny, that our emphasis now is on helping families to protect their assets
Mhm.
and structure their family legacy. So the way we do that is through the 4 keys of wealth, which is we educate people on those 4 keys. And to everyone listening, Katie's going to share. And if you go to our website, beconnectedlife.com, you
Yes.
can set up a free 1 hour consultation and we'll talk to you about your situation and how to get you set up and what resources are available to you and what you need to move to that next level.
That's
Um, yeah.
Yeah, and do you work with like specific people, or do you just kind of have everybody from every sort of business coming and consulting with you?
Right. We have those that we have curated, I guess you would say,
Hmm.
depending on what you need. And I'm very cautious
Yeah.
I will suggest to you what you need, and then usually you can either do it yourself or choose from a variety of resources,
Mm-hmm.
or we have some consultants that you can use. But those who we have on are very particular about their price point, because I want this
Okay.
to be affordable. I want
Yeah.
this to
Right.
be able to pay for this with a couple of trips to Walmart and Dollar Tree. And you know what I'm talking about. You go in the
Mm-hmm.
Dollar Tree for some paper plates and you come out $70 later. Now, it costs more than $70, let me say it. But
Oh yeah, of course.
uh, so when we get in, when you make your appointment for the 4 keys to wealth, let me say this, let me throw this first key out.
Yeah.
Most of us, the first key is making sure you're structured properly.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us have worked all our lives and we follow 1040.
Mm-hmm.
You, Katie, heard about the 1041.
No, I have not, of course.
And I haven't either. My company helps you people to understand a
Mm-hmm.
complex trust. With
Okay.
a complex trust, you file the 1041, which is why you never see certain people income tax, because that information, when you
Okay.
set up a private trust, a complex trust,
Mm-hmm.
it's private. It's what you put in it and what you know, and it's between you and the IRS when you file your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a get rich scheme. I don't have a you don't have to pay taxes. Let me be very clear. Everyone has to pay taxes on everything.
Yes. Cannot
The
get away
correct,
from that.
but the correct terminology that we educate you about is you want to reduce your tax liability so you, like Amazon, will pay zero. Okay? You want to lesson learn, reduce your tax liability. So we show you how to, one, set up yourself in the correct tax position, because most of us are just working and paying the 1040 and doing
Right.
1040 and paying
Right.
our taxes. The
Yep.
next key is how to protect your wealth. We are taught to own. We're taught to go out here, buy a house, car,
Mm-hmm.
another car, boats, all this stuff.
Yes.
Ownership follows title. Liability follows ownership. Rockefeller said, own nothing but control everything. So if you look up with Nelson Rockefeller and how they tried to break up Standard Oil, and after 4 years, they finally broke up Standard Oil, and he said, okay. And then he put himself as a trustee on the board of all those 30 plus companies who are you're still getting gas from Rockefeller's companies when you go to the gas pump, and his family
Wow.
still owning money. They own nothing, but they're controlled as a trustee. So when
Mm-hmm.
you set up a complex trust, Kate, if you set it up, you're the trustee. You control everything in that trust. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody sue Katie Connect business or Katie, I don't own anything. Well, you have a trust. I don't own the trust. The trust has its own EIN number. What's in
Okay.
the trust is not disclosed to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do that? So Katie owns nothing. But Katie has her house. The trust owns a house that they're letting Katie live in.
Okay.
The trust
Okay.
owns the car that Katie's driving. In the case of the Gates, the trust owns the airplanes that he has, et cetera, et cetera.
So
Bill Gates.
really, it's all about that trust, is what you're saying, is making sure your
Transfer
assets are in that trust.
that
So that
trust.
okay.
And you can't be, the trust cannot be sued and
Wow.
gained because your social security number is not on that trust. That trust has its own EIN number.
Right. I did not know that. And I think there's a lot
Right.
of people out there that don't know that.
Right. So if they come out after Katie or Katie Connect and the lawyer goes after the social security number, the only amount, we teach people this, if Katie Connect is a business, for example, you
Right.
keep enough money in your business account to cover your expenses, and
Mm-hmm.
your income goes to your trust.
Wow.
So if they come after you, you have no money sitting in your LLC. Katie Connect doesn't own anything. We don't have any assets. Oh well.
Wow.
And it's moved to you. And this is all legal.
Yeah, of course.
It's
I mean, the trust is legal. You're allowed to have a trust. So if whatever's in it, it's mine.
download the 1041 and the instructions.
Wow.
And it's a one-page form that you file every year. So you still have a tax consequence. But we
Mhm.
show you how to set up a series of interrelated trusts where you move your money. So the third key is getting your wealth to work for you. Money in motion makes money.
Yeah, of course. Mhm.
Again, we've been taught, take our money, go to the bank, let it sit there, try
Yep.
to earn 0.1% if you're lucky.
Yep.
And
That's
then if you want
exactly.
to,
Yeah.
heaven forbid you want to buy a house or a car or something. They won't loan you,
Right.
make you a loan. And then if you want to get your money out, you got to give them a 3-day advance notice, get your money out.
Wow.
So money in motion. So we show you how to keep your money in motion through a variety of instruments, such as an endowment. Now, usually you think of endowments like Harvard and Yale, these big schools, but you could go right to your church,
Mhm.
the YMCA, and say, listen, I want to give you 5,000, I want to give you $10,000. And
Mhm.
then I want you to split the interest with me for life. And they'll go, okay, because they just got free money.
Wow.
And so your trust would be getting a check every month for
Mhm.
life. The
Wow.
bank's not going to do that.
Mm-mm.
The bank's going to give you your 0.1% and report it to the IRS, and then you'll have to pay taxes on it.
Wow.
The interest earned through your trust, putting it in an endowment, if the trust files its taxes, and because
Mhm.
you're going to move any excess income to your other trust, you reduce your tax liability. So it's literally tax free.
Wow.
And I
And
know I'm
that,
putting a lot out there right now because
yeah.
we have time crunch, but
No, I
money and
was gonna say that's a very interesting one because I think that third key right there, that's a pretty I mean that's long term, that's
that's
long term money that you're bringing in constantly, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
I mean, I think people who are listening out here, I think you should get connected with Gail because this is sounding like some pretty futuristic, game changer stuff here.
Yeah, we call it private family banking because that's what the bank does. The bank takes your little $100 and they put it with
Yeah,
everybody else's money and they invest it and they earn it 20-30% and they're giving you 0.001% on it. But that's what they're doing. So you just take your own money and invest it and create your own terms. And so we
right.
show people how to do that. There are also insurance policies that most of us didn't know about. There are insurance policies that you buy, that you endow, rather than putting your money in the bank. And then you're earning interest on that insurance policy and it
Wow.
retains its face value. So
So
if you need a loan for a car or a house again, you
yeah.
borrow your own insurance policy and pay yourself back. It's called private family banking or
Mhm.
infinitive banking, infinity banking,
Infinity banking.
infinite, infinite banking.
Okay, infinite
Infinite.
banking. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to understand it. So this is still tied to your trust, like that.
Tied to your trust. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. And then,
Because one of the things your trust can do, which is tax deductible, is
yeah.
buy an insurance policy on you. If you buy an insurance policy now as an individual, it's not tax deductible.
Okay.
But
And
as
that's
a trustee, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. And then you're talking about like a life insurance policy
Right.
or,
Mhm.
okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Life and health, any type of policy, as the trustee, the
Okay.
trust is responsible for you and as the caregiver
Mm-hmm.
24/7. You're the caregiver 24/7 of the trust. As the
Okay.
trustee, the trust is responsible for your transportation, housing, well-being, education, etc. So
Okay.
there are things that can be paid for and covered out of your trust that's tax deductible 100%. That's
Right.
not tax deductible 100% to you as an individual.
Okay. Hmm.
If you have kids and they go to college, they have to be
Yeah.
educated. The trust can pay for your child's education
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
the trust
Exactly.
document would say that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think everybody needs to be paying attention here to this.
Who knows?
um,
They didn't tell us. Who knew? Because they wanted us to be worker bees.
yeah, exactly. That's a good one. They wanted us all to be little worker bees doing the same thing, following the same rules, same instructions, and not falling off the path.
And it was designed that way from after the war against Britain. If
Yeah.
I have quotes in here where when they were trying to decide what the banking system would look like in the U.S. And
Hmm.
have you seen Hamilton, the play, the Broadway play on Disney by chance? I don't know if
No,
you've
I
seen it.
didn't. I have not.
In that play, George Washington, and there's a between Hamilton and Jefferson, and there's this sort of rap argument about what the
Hmm.
banking system should look like. And
Hmm.
that's what they're discussing, is that where the people would have control, or where
Hmm.
the United States government would have control of the banking system, and where the state should control, because you may have heard states had their own money, but
Yeah.
then we went to this
Yeah.
centralized banking system. And so there are quotes that we teach you about where in the 1800s people will said people will wake up in their own continent and find themselves homeless. And then I have another quote from Henry Ford when they were putting together this banking system, the Federal Reserve. He
Hmm.
said, people really knew what was going on, there'd be a revolution tomorrow. They
Wow.
set up a two-tiered system. One
Yeah.
of the books you should read is called The Creature from Jekyll Island.
This is a
A
book.
book. Yes. And it's how certain wealthy men got together and created the Federal Reserve Bank.
Wow.
It's The Creature from Jekyll Island. They came right up here to South Carolina, North Carolina, had a
Hmm.
meeting at a fancy resort, and decided our lives for us.
Wow.
There's
That's
a lot.
it. That
We
was
may have to
it.
come back for part two on this.
Yeah, I think so because I have a lot of questions. We can spend a few hours on here, okay? No, but then that would just be giving away your free content because I just try to get everything out of you.
So that was the third. Yeah, getting your
Yeah.
wealth. So let me ask you, before we go to fourth, let
Yeah.
me see if you have any questions about everything I've tossed out at you.
Let's see here. Okay, so you said the first you want to do the trust, right? And then the second thing is you said what was the second one? You said whole secure your wealth, right?
Well, what we do is we see where you are, because some people are ready
I
for a
just want to
private
get this straight.
trust. Some people have businesses and they need a business trust first. So we see where you are. And then you set
Okay.
up a series of interrelated trusts. And depending
Okay.
upon your assets, and that's the thing I love about this, because people go, I'm just a W-2 wage earner.
Mhm.
You more than anybody else, guys. If you're out there working, you need a trust to protect your assets.
Okay.
So we see where you are, and
Mhm.
then we offer you some solutions. I don't work for any of these companies that do endowments. You may want to go to your church when we get to that point. Like I said,
Right.
if you like the Boys and Girls Club, uh, your local healthcare facility.
Right.
So the first key is putting your wealth in the correct tax position.
That's right. Okay.
Protecting your wealth. We show you how to separate your business from your personal expenses. People start businesses all the time, and they write checks for their business out of their personal checking account.
Right.
Which means
Right.
if you're ever sued, there's no distinction, and someone can come in and take everything you own. So we show you how to separate your personal and business wealth, like we said, own nothing,
Mhm.
control nothing. Then, depending upon your assets, the next step is, okay, now let's start. If you have 5,000 set somewhere, 10,000 setting in the bank, earning 0.111,
Mhm.
some options for
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
sort of
All right.
sequential.
Okay.
It does you no good to go out and jump into an endowment right now if you
Right.
don't have your car and your house and your home, your life insurance, your kids' education protected.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, I did want to talk about that Wisdom from Queens, the book that you had that just came out in August. So I don't know if you want to do the fourth tip next, and then we can roll into that, or if you want to do that first, and then we can.
Yeah, let's do the fourth tip because I'm almost through, because then people really can go and book their appointment. The fourth
Yeah.
tip is producing generational wealth. So the reason we're doing this is that we want to leave something for our kids and grandkids, in my
Of
case.
course. Yes.
So we show you how, when you set up your trust, what terms to put in your trust. You can even put like a bloodline clause, which means when you set up your trust, only Katie's children and their
Mhm.
children can ever be a trustee.
Okay.
Your son or daughter's wife could never be a trustee.
Right.
So we
Right.
show you how to structure your trust so that it's always there just for your family. And we call it controlling your money, control it from from the grave.
Okay. Right.
That's what the trust does, is that you set up and how to make your minute entries. If you have a new son or daughter or grandson,
Mm-hmm.
how to make those changes. So that's the fourth tip. So there's a
Okay.
series of steps that we share you and educate you
Mm-hmm.
on. If you go to Be Connected Life, that's BEE Connected, CONNECTED, Life, LIFE.com.
Okay. I'll
Then you
put the
can
link
book.
in the below too, so people can.
Okay, Katie's going to add a link, and you book your free 1 hour consultation, and we'll talk with you. And once you work with us, and if you get a trust, complex trust, we provide 1 year of consultation. It's included. So we want to make sure, because after that first year of attending our trainings and calls, we used to meet quarterly in Dallas, and then we would meet in Cabo for advanced trustee training in Cabo, Mexico,
Oh wow.
every November. In fact, we would be going this weekend, but with the pandemic, we have not been
Mm-hmm.
traveling, and we are here. So if you say, hey, because when you first get your trust and you're first hearing this, and then she said, no, well, no, did they really say that?
Yeah.
At 3
Right.
in the morning, did I really hear what I heard?
Yeah.
So we're here for you that first year to train you and walk you through. We have CPAs who are specially trained in doing your books at the end of the year, because everybody's not familiar with this. When I would go to training, half the room would be CPAs and lawyers
Mm-hmm.
learning and getting trained in this so they could offer this to their clients. Because right now, even if you have a simple trust, say in California,
Right. Okay.
it's only good as statutory. So it's only good in California. So if
Right.
you move to Texas or Florida, it's
Mm-hmm.
not valid. And so
Right.
most of us would have had either a will, which only disperses your assets after you're dead, a simple trust, which does the same thing. It may have a clause to distribute some interest, which
Mm-hmm.
is taxable, by the way, if you do. And then it's not good if you move. But a complex trust, you control it now, control your assets now, and it's living, and it's recognized nationally and internationally. So you can move anywhere.
Anywhere. Right. Right. And with you mentioned something about, so you have the free consultation call, and then you said that after you kind of help them set up their trust and stuff, you do the free consultation, or you do the consultation for a year, right?
Well, yeah, we do the free consultation call is 1 hour.
Right,
Then
right.
if
For
it's something you want to do, we continue to walk you through the process to help you get your trust. Some
right.
people need just one trust. I started out with just a private family trust because I
Okay.
wanted to put my property and my life insurance policies in that for my kids.
Right.
And some people at the point where they have a business trust. So the scenario is you have your business trust, family trust, and then a private family foundation. That's the four
Okay.
complete circle of products that we would work with you on.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
that's why the consultation is important. And then
Yeah.
once you get your consultation and pay for your consultation, and we get all your trust documents set up and
Mm-hmm.
signed, we're around for a year to help you
Okay. Okay.
with everything you need for your trust. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's what you're just saying, that once you get everything established and your help and you got your trust established, those 4 areas, then that's when, if you need something, they can contact you for a year. Okay. That's what I was just trying
to come in and get one, because a lot of people come in and you just need one trust. So we're
Right,
here for a
right.
year. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Cause like, for example, somebody like me, like I don't have any, right. Which don't say anything bad, but I don't have any, but so I would be somebody that would be like, okay, where do I go? Where do I start? Which one do I start with?
Yeah.
But
that's
like
why
obviously
the consultation. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it'd be perfect for me to call and do the free consultation for an hour to see which one I should need to start with. So
Right.
for anybody listening, that's what you should do. Do the free consultation so you can figure out what trust you need to begin with.
Yeah. Whether you need the business first. If you had a tax liability last year with your LLC or your corporation, You need to
Yeah.
get business trust first.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, definitely.
that's why we do the conversation first with you to see just what your situation is.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And that's awesome that you offer that because usually it's only like 15, 30 minutes. So an hour is a good solid amount of time to get a good consultation.
Yeah, and it's really two calls. The first call, we allocate an hour because we do the
Mhm.
pre-qualifying call and then
Okay.
give people a chance to sleep on it. And we send them a then more detailed document to fill out. And then we follow up with another call.
Okay. Okay.
Because when I share this with people the first time, it's just too much. It's just,
Right.
we needed to give them time to digest what
Yeah.
we shared.
No,
And then,
it can be because I mean, for somebody like me, I could ask you 1,000 questions, but because of the time limit. But yeah, I think it's the consultation call is definitely beneficial.
yeah, it's a couple of calls. It's a couple
Yeah,
of calls.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and get the Wisdom for Queens? That is this just released in August. So let me check
Right.
on
You and
that.
I connected. We've been trying to get through COVID and get
I
connected.
know.
And so, in talking about everything that was going on with COVID, and I made the comment to someone that this is like deja vu. I've been here before, and this had to do with the racial unrest. And they said, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I lived through this before because I'm 65." And as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in the rural segregated South where
Mm-hmm.
I remember blacks only signs. And when I got to eighth grade, was about to go to ninth grade to a segregated high school, it was in the 64, they had integrated. So
Mm-hmm.
I was bused to an all white high school.
Wow.
So yeah. So and this was living with the all
Right. So
yeah, we were bused. So we were, called names and
mhm.
had to go through and excel in that environment. So in my chapter, the chapter Wisdom from Queens, Volume 3,
Mhm.
5 women, each year they select 5 women to write their story.
Oh
And
wow. Yeah.
yeah, so this is the third volume, and the
Mhm.
theme was choices, challenges, and change. And when we started this, we did not realize in January when we started this how timely some of this would be because there was a general discussion. We wasn't sure where
Right.
the theme was going to go, and of course they told us just start writing. And
Mhm.
as we got into February, March, April, we saw wait a minute, and so our theme's going to be choices, challenges, and change because
Yeah.
in mine, I go from rural segregated South to integration and
Mhm.
integration and having a career and having traveled the world. And what I share in my chapter is how to take lemons and make lemonade. Now I know everybody says that,
Mhm.
uh, but and it wasn't easy. Sometimes
No.
I would be the only woman, the only person of color in a room, making a presentation or discussing something. So, how do you, go home and cry, but have the skin and the wisdom to get through it and to use
Mhm.
that and to still try to reach your goal? Another chapter in the book is dreams deferred because with COVID, uh, a lot of people had to put their dreams on hold, their careers on hold, etc. Uh, Coming through it, another writer talks about how she wanted to be a pharmacist and how she kept
Mhm.
getting stopped along the way. And so many of us have dreams and we'll start it and something happens and we have to stop and reset. And so many of us have had to pivot right now. And so
Yes.
again, this book, we had no idea how timely this book would be with the
Right.
5 of us sharing our story.
Wow.
And so it's Wisdom from Queens, Volume 3. If you're
Mhm.
interested in getting the book, you go to Doc Gail, DOCJIL,
Okay.
at docgail.com. It's
Okay.
docgail.com. Yes, did I
Yeah,
spell
that's
it?
what I was gonna say. That's what you sent me. I was just looking at make sure that's the link you
Yes,
sent me. I'm like, yeah, yeah,
docgail.com.
yes.
And there you can find the book. It's a great Christmas gift. Uh, if you, in your little memo, say you heard about it through Katie. I have special packaging. If you have a
Oh.
woman, aunt, sister, niece in your life, I have a special queen packaging. It has a beautiful black and gold cover, and then we give you a gold pin. You know, I try to make it fancy.
Yeah.
Special bookmark for all our queens out there. So check the book out, and it has tips for men too. I did a
Awesome.
Facebook post where I said men read books too.
Yeah,
Because
of
our men
course.
are also facing challenges
Mhm.
as the provider with work and making sure how do they maneuver day to day in this world when there's a glass ceiling, when your dreams are deferred. So
Mhm.
they have their personal journey and the journey of being a provider for their family. So I encourage men also to
Mhm.
get to read it, and there are some tidbits in there for everyone of all ages. Young kids, don't always say what's on your mind. I mean, it's many a times. I'm sure we've all been in meetings and wanted to say what was on our minds,
Oh, of
but
course, of course.
you have to think
Many
about,
times.
okay, who's
Yes,
gonna bail me out of jail if I
right.
do what I'm thinking right now? Uh,
Right. Who am I gonna call?
who am I gonna call?
Uh,
How's my mortgage going to get paid? So,
yeah.
they're in the military, with 21 years in the military, well, 26 years actually, win the battle, but lose the war. And so many times people will, get into this argument and say what's on their mind.
Right, right. Just
And then people remember that. And when it's time for that promotion or people picking people for their teams,
mm-hmm.
while you're not getting a promotion or you're getting looked over or
Right.
you're not successful.
Mm-hmm.
But because that's the persona that you've now put out there whenever something's said. Sometimes kind of sit back and say, and I'm getting into, talk to you after if a meeting goes and you think, afterwards go to someone and say, hey, look, let me close the door. Let us have a conversation. And
Right.
people appreciate that.
No, they do. They do. Oh
Because a
yeah.
lot of times people say things and they don't realize the way it was taken by you, the way they said it
Exactly.
is not the way
Exactly.
it was intended.
Mhm.
Oh, by the way, I have a master's in social work too. In addition to all these
I
other
know you
degrees.
have. That's why I said you could talk for like literally, I swear, 5 hours just about your background. You got it going on.
So yeah, those are the tidbits that are in there that the younger generation come along behind us can learn on how to maneuver. You might be thinking it, and I always tell people the bottled water trick. I always go to a meeting with a bottle of water. And
Mhm.
that way somebody says something, and I'm thinking something, I put that bottle of water and say, I know they didn't just say what I think they said. And that gives you 10 seconds to think before you
Right. That's so funny because I actually did. That was something that an ex boss of mine actually, when I was working in the clinical field, like she told me, she said, Katie, I know sometimes you want to say something. She's like, but just bring your coffee or your water in there and just take a drink.
take a sip. Take a deep breath.
Because I was always one that would just be like, oh my gosh, please let me say something, I can't do it. But
Right.
that's awesome. So I mean that's what prompted you to write the book, is because the struggle. I mean, not everybody has definitely not gone what you've gone through. I mean, you have definitely. I mean, I don't know how you're not like all over the place because of the success that you've had, you know what I mean? And the experiences that you had, and now you get to come and you get to tell people, about everything that you learned even years ago, and it can still be used right now.
Relevant today.
Today it's
Right.
still relevant today. So,
Right.
right.
Yeah. I credit growing up now one thing about South Louisiana, we grew up in everybody was family. And I credit growing up in that community, which we don't have now. Everybody knew everybody in town. Now
I know we don't.
my neighbors' names. We don't know. So there's not a sense of community. So we're
No.
struggling. We have issues as to who can we go to talk to. So I'm
Yeah.
happy I can share through BeConnectedLife.com and through .gail.com.
Yeah. No, those are very, very, very helpful information or useful resources, and has lots of good information that I know that I could still use, and all this, the trust and everything. I think that this is great. So what are the 3 lessons you think that our listeners could take away from today?
I always tell people, I was lucky when I grew up in the community. Find a role model that's 10 to 20 years older than you.
Mm-hmm.
The reason is people in your cohort, they're going through the same challenges and struggles you're going through.
Right.
And when you get together, you commiserate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have someone 10 to 15, 20 years, they've gone through, they're still fresh enough. They're not your parents' age, because, what do we know? So if you get someone that's in between, they've gone through recently what
Mm-hmm.
you're going through, and they can give you some suggestions and advice on
Right.
which way and how it's going to go. Because when
Mm-hmm.
we tell our kids, I know how this is going to end. Oh, they think it's going to be different for them. So find someone that can mentor you. You've got to have a mentor. You
Right.
cannot do this alone. We've all gone through, I think I know everything.
Right.
But we
Exactly. No,
So,
we don't. No one can ever say that. You do not know everything.
so find yourself a mentor. The second thing would be educate yourself financially and how to structure yourself financially in the correct tax position. You do not have to be just a W-2 wage earner filling out a 1040.
Mm-hmm.
Read The Creature from Jekyll Island. Look at what the Gates are doing, their foundation. Look at the Chase and Wells Fargo. For instance, for our listeners who are familiar with historically Black colleges, for instance, Spelman and Morehouse. I always thought that they were because of famous Black people, and that's what they were named after.
Mm-hmm.
They were named after Rockefeller. Spelman is named after Rockefeller's wife's family, and Morehouse was his business partner.
Wow.
So know our history and financing.
Yes.
And how they used those monies and got a tax write-off to establish those universities. And that's the way Harvard was, Yale was. They were started as tax write-offs because people wanted to control the educational system.
Mm-hmm.
So understand the financial system. Understand where to put your $50.
Right.
Understand where to put your $25. And that's why I'm trying to bring this to everyday people. I don't have $500,000 to take over to Harvard, but if I take my Dollar Tree money, I'm in the ballpark.
Yeah.
So that would be the next thing. Understand finances and start preparing for your future now.
Right. Definitely.
Take your $25 and buy a silver coin.
Mm-hmm.
Take $50 and buy a silver coin. Well, a gold. It used to be able to. You could buy gold last year for that, but now with the COVID, it's almost $100 for a gram.
Mm-hmm.
But start somewhere. So those are the 3 tips. That I would a mentor, financial education, and start saving now.
Well, that's very nice. That's good information and very helpful tips. And I would definitely agree with you on, I just wanted to say, with the mentor, because I was one of those people, I'm still young. I just turned 30 this year. So, I'm still considered a millennial. And, I was one of those people, and I think a lot of people my age between, 22 to 30 years old, we do think we know it all, and we think we don't need, older, I don't want to say elder people, but I mean, but somebody who really, who knows and has gone through the walks of life and can kind of give you that, like, no, please don't make that step, or, oh, I think you should think about that before you make that purchase or whatever. I think I knew it all. And then when I started talking, to people like you, or just anyone that really was 15 to 20 years older than me, I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, they know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So that I think that's very, very important, and definitely financials. I have with the past year myself, I'm looking into, how I structure my financials, where I'm putting my money, where I'm investing my money, where I'm not just spending it, blowing it on here and there. And that's very easy for us to do.
Yeah.
So I think I think those are very, very important as well. Just getting a hold of your financials and budgeting, and because budgeting is extremely important. And I don't think a lot of people do that my age.
And we're not taught that. And that's deliberate. We're not taught in school. We're not taught finances and banking in school.
No,
I have
we're not.
when you go through our education that, and we have direct quotes from people who said it. We're not going to educate them, because if they understood the banking system, that'd be a revolution tomorrow. It was deliberate. So we're you have to educate yourself. Yeah.
I know it's actually kind of funny, because I do also think as millennials, we're starting to notice, like what you're saying, we're not starting to notice how the banking system is and how the government's operating the taxes and things like that. We're like, wait a second, we're starting to question everything. And you're like, oh, over here, guys, I know what you're talking about. Come talk to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Gail, I really appreciate you coming on today. I don't have any more questions for you unless there's something that you wanted to tell the audience. I will have your links both in the description and also on, the recorded audio. I'll have it in there too for people to connect with you as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing from everyone in the audience.
I know. Thank you, Gail, so much. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you. Stay safe.
You too.